I talked to the judge, Judge Fogan, about it. He wasn't going to undo it. And it really got me thinking about what kind of system catches a person up like that, gives him a felony conviction, takes his job, his pension, his vehicle. That ruined his credit, by the way. And it just really, because he was a closeted homosexual, we just didn't want to kind of, own up to that. Not that they would have cut him a break at all, I'm sure. Maybe he was smart not to own up to it with cops. But what kind of system takes a person and does that to them? Okay? So that was my first sense that something's really off here. And that's just one of dozens of things I saw in drug court that were really rotten. Every drug court program, drug courts, the criminal justice system has found that we won't actually provide treatment, not legitimate treatment. We will order people to go to 12-step meetings, even though 12-step meetings, the principles of 12-step programs are that it's supposed to be anonymous, it's supposed to be uncoercive. If you want to be here and you think you have a problem, you come here of your own free will. You don't really say who you are, etc. And yet every NAAA meeting in the country right now, you got people walking in, will you sign my paper? So the criminal justice system is using 12-step programs as kind of a proxy for treatment. And it's not legitimate treatment at all. It's kind of getting these people trapped in these pseudo-religious programs and systems where they're not getting real help, or in many cases, the real help they need. And what you see out of that is this kind of self-promotion of people learn the rap real quick. And even though they're supposed to be anonymous, every drug court program I've seen immediately wants to get a lot of attention and they want to be on the news. And they're doing this for career reasons. The judges, the prosecutors, the defenders in these drug court programs, they love the media attention because this is a career thing for them. They're trying to make a name for themselves any way they can. And so they get these people in there and they immediately, it's almost like a prerequisite for a drug court program. Within the first month, we're going to have news cameras in there. We're going to have people on film, even though it's supposed to be anonymous, there you are on film. And some of the clients that come in there, if they're willing to be filmed and willing to speak up about, oh, it's the best thing that ever happened to me getting busted. Okay? And they're always going to look for that person. And at the Broward County Drug Court, we had a young lady, very attractive, very strung out on crack, came in, got cleaned up, immediately started kind of talking the talk. You saved my life, best thing that ever happened, getting arrested. She became a media darling. She was all over the news in South Florida. And she was all, oh man, drug court works, drug court works. Well, there's a problem though, in that the early AA experience was that the reason they were anonymous was they found out that before AA there was the Oxford movements. Oxford movements was a religious program. They felt they had recaptured the essence of Christianity and what it meant to be a real Christian, and they were getting people clean. And those people were out giving testimonials. They were very involved in the Prohibition movement of alcohol, these Oxford movement people. And then they would go out and very publicly relapse. And what they found in AA later was, you can't have that. We have to be anonymous. We can't accept money from outside groups. We can't be affiliated. We have to be completely independent and anonymous because we look stupid if people go out in public relapse. Well, this person I'm speaking of with the drug court program, she started relapsing. She dropped the dirty urines left and right. Other people were going to jail if they dropped the dirty urine, but they're still putting her on TV because she's still willing to say, drug court, oh, it's great, it's the best thing that ever happened to me, okay? And so that was kind of my second real sign that something is way off here, and I can't support this regimen. Then in 1994, I was invited to speak in Washington at the Alcohol and Drug Problems Association conference. This 50-year-old group had kind of, dwindling membership, was really a kind of a moribund group. They weren't on a national scene even known. And all of a sudden, they got millions of dollars to put this conference on. The drug czar was going to come there and speak. They got a lot of money to pay speakers to come. And it became a huge deal in the drug chemical dependency field, the drug court field. And so I went there as a speaker, And the big build-up to when the drug czar came out, and what it turned out to be was they were unveiling their new budget for health and human services and chemical dependency. And basically the crowd of hundreds of people kind of bought that budget hook, line, and sinker and what the drug czar had to say about it. More dollars for treatment, rah, rah, rah. But when you read the fine print of the budget, it took money from chemical dependency and basically gave it to prison. And so what the budget really was about was, if people are going to get chemical dependency treatment now, it's going to be through prison. You're going to have a conviction, or you're going to have HIV before you're going to get treatment for chemical dependency. And my whole thinking was that that's a little too late. You know, shouldn't we be trying to put the effort and the dollars and our resources into working with people before they get to conviction, before they're HIV positive? Wouldn't that work better? But the budget explicitly, basically kind of signed the death warrant of independent chemical dependency treatment and handed it over to the criminal justice system. And the people there were cheering for it, which really told me that at that point I was in the wrong field. I was doing the wrong work. I just couldn't believe in it anymore. And I did kind of start doing some different things shortly after that. My final kind of epiphany or awakening came in 2000 when I learned that I had cancer. And had cancer surgery, had a kidney removed. They botched the surgery and they put a slice, giving me the epidural before the surgery, they put a slash in my dural lining. And what that meant was that my dural fluid was leaking, your brain sags, and you get a vicious, vicious headache and nausea. And maybe it'll last a day, maybe it'll last 2 months until the dural lining heals. And so I end up back at home because they just told me that no help for you here. You're going to have to go home with this condition. And so I'm laying there, I got one kidney, I'm recovering from cancer, which is a mental trip. I'm in absolute agony, and I don't hesitate to say that I was suffering. I wasn't just in agony, I was literally suffering with this dural leak. Out my back window, I was living across the Puget Sound from Seattle, had this beautiful tree stand behind my house, and I was well aware that my neighbor grew some marijuana back there, okay? It didn't bother me any. But as I'm laying there realizing the medicine they gave me for the nausea just hurt my stomach, bothered me. They would have gladly given me narcotics, but it wouldn't have done any good. Again, narcotics just make you nausea. That wouldn't have killed any of the pain or nausea I was in. Maybe would have made me a little numb. But I sat there reflecting on the fact that my neighbor has marijuana, and that's the one thing that would really make me feel better. Now, I knew for myself I wasn't going to actually call him or anything. And at the time, I really realized that, amongst other things, I just would have felt like a hypocrite. I just spent 15 or 16 years preaching to people about, you don't need marijuana. And now it's like, I can't do that. But I can tell you that for 4 or 5 solid days, it was almost like a hypnotic focal point. When your hypnotic pain relief is about finding a focal point and concentrating on it, and it kind of takes you away from the other stuff. And I really got this thought in my head about, who can tell me that I couldn't do that if I wanted to?